So years after Stadia has released and launched as a cloud platform, a pretty sizable library has formed. Hundreds of games are now on this cloud platform, and honestly, it can be hard to figure out where to put your time. So in this video, I had the top 20 plus Stadia games that you should play today. But before I do that, here is a message from today's sponsor. So have you guys ever wanted to play newly unreleased games for free before everyone else, test them out for developers, and earn cool stuff just by simply playing and giving a review? Well guys, I got the thing for you with G-Round, and with G-Round you simply sign up, which is really easy to do, and it's free. You can even sign up with your own Facebook account. Once signed up, download the launcher, install the game you want, and then just click play. Play your choice of free games that update every Thursday, and let me tell you guys, there is some very high quality titles for you to play completely free. Then go ahead and leave your absolute honest review for the developers so they can improve their titles and release awesome games to everyone. But by giving your review as well, which you can do in any language, you get G points currency, which you then head on over to the G-Round store and buy some really sweet swag like a new headset or even a new mouse. All this just by playing a game for free and simply leaving a review so developers release the best game they can. You can get early access before these games even release to the public. Simply check the links and click the links below to get access to G-Round. And by clicking and signing up, you guys greatly support this channel and you get to enjoy some awesome free games. So let's start this off with a game that, even though it's a few years old now, I think it's one of the best games that really represents how good Stadia is. That is Division 2. This is a game that to this day is still receiving big updates, and the reason that I wanted to put it on this list is because it has everything: full 4K 60 FPS on Stadia, the ability to play with a specific Stadia feature you won't see anywhere else in Stream Connect that lets you see what your teammates are doing. It's also a very well polished game many years later. The content that is available can really keep you going for months, mixed in with the ability to do player versus player as well, and the game has full cross-play included on Stadia. For me, this is one of the best games on the platform, period. Mixed with the fact that the game is frequently on sale as well, be sure to pick this one up if you guys are interested in this looter shooter. So the 2019 Game of the Year in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice might be a title that proves how far cloud gaming has come, especially with Stadia. It's a game that requires a high degree of difficulty, quick and timely button responses, and well, your wits as well. With this game being from the creators of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, this might actually be the most challenging game on Stadia, period. It also features full 60 FPS gameplay, and well, you have a well-rounded, smooth running title to really sink your teeth into. So one of the reasons Grid makes this list for me is because it features something that isn't available anywhere else. That is a full-fledged 40-player races that can be seen from time to time, especially if you subscribe to this channel, as I've hosted a couple of these over the years. And let me tell you guys, because of Stadia and because of the cloud, this is possible with this game. Not only that, the game itself is just fantastic. It has great gameplay. It's not too sim-like where you can't just hop in and race away. It's got a great balance between both a sim and arcadey style of gameplay, and it's easily one of my favorite racers on Stadia. So jumping to the FIFA franchise, that absolutely has to make the list because it shows how even in the cloud you can get a next-gen experience on Stadia. The recent FIFA 22 featured next-gen features, but also runs and looks fantastic and has been my go-to to get my soccer fix, all in the cloud, of course. Now, if you're looking for a sports game that really has it all, don't hesitate with FIFA on Stadia. All right, we're gonna jump to the Resident Evil franchise, and for me, guys, this has really evolved into a series that even a guy like myself who isn't into horror games really appreciates what Resident Evil can bring. With Resident Evil Village specifically, not only are you getting, of course, the jump scares and those horrifying moments, but the story is fascinating and it makes you want to delve even deeper. The gameplay is fantastic and gripping, but overall the game for me runs super well on Stadia, and it's been such a fun adventure. I couldn't recommend this more, and it easily makes the top of this list. So the Hitman series has been one that's been very memorable for me to experience in the cloud. I've gotten to play all three, and while these games can literally offer hundreds if not more hours jumping into them. You can tackle the missions one by one, in which you have your objectives to take out key people. You can do this honestly in hundreds of ways. The latest Hitman is still getting monthly updates and consistent updates, and even new types of content. This is a game that really can keep you engaged for a very long time in a variety of ways, tackling missions with different objectives, then returning to those missions and then doing things that you've never seen or done before. Hitman is a game that will silently take your heart out if you decide to give this one a shot. Alright guys, so don't let the visuals fool you on this game. Octopath Traveler is a deep story RPG that I recently got into, featuring a variety of stories that you'll follow throughout the game that all intertwine with each other. All of those same stories have their own backstory as well. The game features this really neat fast strategy combat as well, guys, and it's really the best way to explain it. Now, I'm not typically the biggest strategy RPG guys, I just prefer action combat, but in this game it's done really well and combines almost both. It's just super fast paced is the best way to explain it. There's also fully voiced stories with the main characters, and it's an adventure that's gonna definitely take you some time to finish, but really dig deep into as well. This is easily one of the most highly suggested RPGs for me on this list, and you should absolutely dive into this one on Stadia. So one of my favorite fighting games of all time is on this list in Mortal Kombat 11, and the reason it's one of my favorites, put it frankly, I don't like fighting games. It's one of my least favorite genres, but Mortal Kombat 11 sucked me into its story, converted me into loving this action-packed gameplay, brutal fatalities, and featuring tons of different modes. It's easy to put this one on my list, and really one of my only fighting games on this list, period. So a fast-paced, brutal, and insanely hard game is what I describe Doom Eternal. If you want your gamer skills put to the test, this is the game to do it. I've been a fan of this title since it came out a few years ago. It's honestly just mindless action where you do at times have to outsmart your enemy, but one of the awesome things is how Doom Eternal really showcases how good Stadia is. Featuring 4K 60 FPS goodness, it's one of the best games that really showcases how powerful this cloud platform is. Oh, and by the way, it's still one of the best games to have released in the past few years. It's a hell-raised adventure that I just couldn't recommend more. So Life is Strange True Colors is the newest intro into the Life is Strange franchise, and if you've never experienced this, I think you guys will be in for a treat. It's a full-blown narrative-based title where your decisions, including those tough decisions you will make, change the course of the story you're in. Here you play as Alex Chen, who's trying to uncover the truth of her brother's supposed accident, but she must embrace her supernatural powers to help solve the case, but she's been suppressing that for quite some time. Now, I can tell you guys firsthand, the story in this game is absolutely top-notch. Of course, I won't give you guys any spoilers, but let me just say it's just damn good. It also comes with thousands of positive user reviews across all platforms, and since this game released late last year, it's been getting tons of accolades, and you're getting a pretty fresh title. If you're interested in a complicated but well-made story, this is a game to play on Stadia and one of my favorites since it released late last year. Speaking of a newer type game, we have Rainbow Six Extraction that made this list not because it does anything super new or super exciting, but it's just a solid title overall. A game where you jump in with yourself and two other players taking on objectives, working together with your unique operatives. The game does draw heavily from its brother Rainbow Six Siege, but honestly that's where it ends. The game is really difficult, so communication and gameplay with your squad will be paramount. It runs great on Stadia with a performance mode that really delivers great smooth gameplay, and it's honestly a pretty high quality game for 2022 and one that I highly recommend on this list. So one of the very few player versus player games on this list overall, Rainbow Six Siege, even after being released years ago, has remained one of the most popular first-person tactical shooters on the market, I'd even argue of all time. Now, with tons of operators to choose from, gameplay that's fantastic and fast-paced, you'll always have that mantra of just one more round, one more game. If you're looking for a competitive experience in the cloud, you have it here. Personally, I couldn't recommend the game more from my own experience. It just runs so good on Stadia. And what I would say is the most unique and must-play RPG on Stadia, Baldurs Gate 3, while still in early access, brings something to replayability you're just not going to find anywhere else. There's essentially thousands of options, from how to create your character to how you interact within the narrative of the game, that really changes the course of the story. Baldurs Gate 3 is easily one of the deepest RPGs to release in the past few years, all the while still being in early access. When it releases to full, this will be even more complete and fleshed out. Pick up Baldurs Gate 3 on Stadia if you want a turn-based RPG with tons of replayability and just deep gameplay. So I'm listing pretty much all the Far Cry games Stadia has, and I know that's a little bit of a cop-out, but honestly, over the years since the original Far Cry games, I've enjoyed them so much just for the mindless gunplay and the fun stories. The latest Far Cry 6 continues that momentum on Stadia, and it's just been a blast. It's a game that features Stream Connect, so it's a Stadia unique feature. Keep in mind though, some adventures on Stadia don't have full 60 FPS, but if you don't mind that and you just want a fun adventure, don't miss out on any of the Far Cry titles on Stadia. So Destiny 2 might be one of Stadia's most popular titles, and that is even years after the game is launched, featuring full crossplay, the fact that it's free to play, and just a great looking title on Stadia. It's easy to see why this has to be on this list. You can hop on this game and not spend a dime technically, and you pretty much have a console free in the cloud. Of course, if you want to drop some cash though, the game is still receiving major expansions and major content updates. The gunplay and loot hoarding to this day is still top notch for this game. It's still one of the best games on Stadia even years later. So man, Outcasters to this day, guys, is a Stadia exclusive title, but while it's remained exclusive in the cloud, it's a game that I think is also very underrated. A full player versus player arena game with a cute aesthetic vibe, fast and fun, intense matches, and featuring a full host of Stadia only features if you're a streamer. This is a game that deserves a lot more love and easily makes the top of my list for one of the best games. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order tells the story of an abandoned Padawan who must complete his training in the Force to well stay alive and invade the Empire. Easily one of the best story-based adventures on Stadia, one of my personal favorites of the past few years, with high intensity lightsaber fights, gripping story, and a game that runs extremely well on Stadia, I might add, with full 60 FPS gameplay, and it just looks good. If you're into the market for a big adventure and you're also a Star Wars fan, Fallen Order might be up your alley. Borderlands 3 is still a top game for me as one of the best looter shooters available on the market today, even despite being some years old now. A game that recently got full crossplay across all platforms, so you can play with your buddies on other systems, has tons of expansions and DLC that are really fun to run through, and still more events coming in the months ahead. It's a game you can't miss, especially if you love the Diablo loot style mixed with just awesome gunplay. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is one of the latest entries into the AC franchise, and honestly, it's a pretty brilliant adventure. A full-fledged story to dive into, leading assaults against fortresses with your men, commanding crews of raiders from your ship. A game today still getting updates and expansions. It's a game I can easily recommend on Stadia, especially since it runs so fantastic on this cloud platform. So Red Dead Redemption 2 for me easily makes this list for the insane amount of content this game features, mixed with of course rockstar goodness that you've come to expect. The story is one of the best in gaming of the past few years. The setting is unique with the Wild West. The game has content for hundreds of hours. Oh, and it features a full-fledged online mode that I personally have spent dozens of hours on with Stadia, and I've really enjoyed the crap out of that. This is one of the deepest games on this list. It's a game that has the best bang for your buck when you list out all the things it has. Oh, and it does have a sweet performance or visual mode, so you can get that 60 FPS goodness if you want, or 4K beautiful stunning visuals. Alright guys, so we've come to the last game, and I've saved the best for last, maybe even the most controversial of this entire list. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that immediately evokes some form of emotion towards it, whether you hated how it launched or you fully enjoyed the wild ride that is this story. It's a game that I've managed to finish from start to end on Stadia, one of my most memorable times in my gaming history. The game runs amazingly well on Stadia, and while it doesn't have any Stadia specific features, the fact that you can play a game of this magnitude on the go I've always thought was insanely impressive. Mixed with the fun looting mechanics to upgrade your character, skill trees that let you customize the way you want to play, and a story that I could only really describe as a roller coaster. For me, this is my most favorite game on Stadia, period. Oh, and it's still set to receive major expansions in the future, making it even easier for me to recommend right now. So don't skip out, especially if you see this game on a sale price. With that, which games did I miss, guys? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you click the video, guys, on the top left if you want to know more about Stadia games coming to Stadia in 2022 and beyond.